Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Kyle, and I usually talk about all things photo and video, tech, gear, and pretty much any interest that I have that kind of stumbles across my desk. But this week, things were a little different. I actually spent a few days in New York City for B&H's Bild Expo. This is a massive event for creators, photographers, videographers, and tech nerds just like me and most likely just like you. And wow, it certainly did not disappoint. I'll be honest, I didn't really plan on going initially, but then I saw the speaker lineup and all the gear previews coming out, and of course the chance to link up with other creatives and YouTubers. I definitely couldn't pass that up. So my wife and I booked our hotel and got our flight to New York City. I kept things initially super minimal for this trip. No full rig. I just had the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and my Leica Q2 monochrome in my checked bag. Honestly, I think it was the perfect travel companion for what I had in mind, at least at first. I knew going in that I wanted to pick up the new Lumix S1RII, and I didn't want to drag extra gear around just to end up, switching halfway through the trip. I will have a full video on that camera soon. It's actually right here, but spoiler alert, it made a serious first impression. Before we could even go to the event hall on the first day, I wanted to make sure I could pick up the S1RII because I wanted to see what it could do, not only walking around the city, but in the expo hall altogether. So we went to B&H, we went to their full superstore, and that's awesome also if you're a gear nerd like I am. I picked up the S1RII. I got the 20 to 60 kit lens for it while I was there. And I also picked up the 70 to 200 for an evening event that we had lined up later. But the issue was I did buy an extra battery, and not only does this thing eat batteries, as we all know, but when you buy a new camera, the batteries don't obviously come full charge. So I was scrounging in the hotel room 30 minutes before we actually went to the showroom. While I was in the showroom, having very little battery, trying to, plug into an outlet whenever we could, we'd take a break, get a snack or something, go sit down and try to find an outlet to plug the camera in to keep it charged. So that was a kind of fun little challenge that we had going on. But as soon as I picked up the S1RII, I was definitely itching to put it to work. As I said, the 20 to 60 I bought with it initially, and it's actually a pretty underrated walk-around lens, I think. It has a great mix for, those wide NYC kind of street scenes, but you can also get a lot of tighter compositions too with it going up to 60 millimeters. As I mentioned before, I also picked up the Sigma 70 to 200 millimeter right here for some extra reach. This lens really shined during different photo walks that we went on, and especially on the B&H sponsored cruise that we had around Manhattan. I was able to get some really wild shots of the skyline. The whole city, I think it just rained maybe the day before we got there. But it had this really thick fog just layered over the buildings the entire time we were there. And I think I got some really cool photos of the skyline with that fog, and it definitely looked like Gotham. If you're a Batman fan, with all that fog, it kind of made the city look like Gotham, and and that darker, moodier kind of feel, which is kind of my aesthetic anyway. So that was kind of awesome to see that. So as I mentioned before, day one on the floor was definitely a whirlwind. You walk in and it's literally just gear everywhere. Canon, Sony's over here, Nikon, Fujifilm, you know, all showing off their newest stuff. And of course, yeah, it was awesome. I was able to get some hands-on time with, you know, a few lenses I've been eyeing. I talked to reps from some of my favorite brands, and, you know, I sat in on a few live demos. B&H definitely did not hold back on this. I ran into...
It's video. I was recording.
To Cam Mackey, and we talked about the Blazar anamorphic lenses. So I, of course, picked one up. This is the Remus 33 T1.8. The other thing at B&H, these build expos, is everything is on sale. Anything that you want is going to be on sale. So it also is not a great thing for your wallet, but it is the best time to buy the gear. If you're going to buy it eventually, you might as well buy it on sale. But I think what really stood out, if we can kind of like condense it into more of a micro look over the experience, is that it was the people. You know, I met photographers and filmmakers from all over, from YouTubers, you know, I've been following for years, you know, to people who just picked up a camera last week. It wasn't just a tech expo. It was kind of like this creative energy, you know, exchange. And one of the coolest things for me, for someone who has less than 1,000 subscribers, I actually ran into a subscriber of the channel, and that was mind-blowing. First of all, that I would even be recognized in public, but also someone who could recognize me and is subscribed to this channel. And I definitely appreciate it. So thank you. It was great talking to you while we were on the floor. And if you've been liking this video and you've enjoyed kind of what I've shared so far, maybe you should consider subscribing as well. Of course, aside from the floor, I did catch a few talks, which had really, you know, super surprising and inspiring panels about, you know, storytelling and finding your niche if you are online, and using your platform to do more than just post content. So to kind of wrap things up, yeah, this trip was, you know, it was a perfect mix of inspiration, getting new tools, and kind of like the creative fuel, recharging. And, you know, the Build Expo just isn't about testing gear. It's about, you know, like I said, like getting recharged, like as a creator, going, you know, getting excited about new gear and using it and talking to people. So this is definitely something that I would like to continue going to. You know, I'm in Virginia currently, so a quick hour flight up to New York is not too hard for me to do. So I'm definitely looking forward to next year. So massive shout out to B&H for putting, you know, something like this big together and actually pulling it off. And of course, if you're curious about the S1R2, that video is coming soon. I've definitely got some thoughts to share with you, and definitely from a more photography side. A lot of videos out right now are more video focused, but I want to really touch on the photography side of the S1R2. If you got any questions about the gear I bought, you know, stuff I saw, or if you're thinking about going to Build next year, definitely drop a comment below. And of course, if you've liked this look, you know, kind of behind the scenes, consider subscribing. You know, more gear reviews and creative stories coming soon. Peace.